It was 1 year ago exactly tonight that South Carolina suffered a disastrous quad 4 loss to North Florida, and I was standing right about in this very spot, just recapping the game, kind of just processing what had just happened. And little did I or anyone know at the time what the season would become, as South Carolina would finish in last in the SEC. But tonight, a much different story, a much better recap to talk about, as the Gamecocks opened up the 2025-26 season with a 91-72 win over North Carolina A&T here at Colonial Life Arena on Tuesday. And a few quick thoughts from this game, starting out with just how many scoring options this team really does have. I talked about it a bit after the North Carolina State game a few weeks back, after getting back from Greensboro, and this team just has a lot of guys that they are going to rely on a lot this season. It's not just Michi Johnson and Eli Ellis, the big names that we all know, but it's the other guys on this team that maybe aren't getting talked about enough right now, but they're going to be scoring players for the team throughout this entire season. Had a lot of guys get into the double figures tonight. Johnson, in his first game back with the Gamecocks after transferring back here from Ohio State after last season, led the team with 14 points on the night. He said after the game that he was dreaming about this game last night, and it was here at CLA with his dog, and Miles Studi was also here, and just thinking about what it was going to be like, and it lived up to the expectations for him. Able to get 12 players into the game tonight. All but one of them did score, so it was a very productive night from that standpoint. Also had 23 assists in this game. So even when South Carolina wasn't scoring, they were still moving the ball around really well and able to kick it out, find the open guys. And that's a big thing that I think could really be an underrated factor of what this team is throughout the year. Now, there were some mistakes made in this game. It wasn't perfect. We're able to jump out to an 18-point lead at the break thanks to a 26-8 run to close out the first half in the final 8 minutes. And we're able to hold on to that lead relatively comfortably for the rest of the way. But it is worth noting they did commit 13 turnovers in this game. That was a little bit of an issue, and that's something we did notice in the NC State exhibition game. There were just some sloppy passes made, and I think that's something that's relatively easier to clean up compared to if it were something else that was going wrong. I think passing the ball and just being a little bit smarter in that area is something that can totally be cleaned up as you move along here. But besides that, I mean, it was a really solid game for South Carolina overall. The three-point shot, I think, is the other thing that we have to talk about here. Went 14 of 32 from deep in this game. Norden Capich had 3 3-pointers on the night. Kobe Knox had 2. Michi Johnson had 2. Miles Studi had 2 as well. A lot of players got involved, not just from a scoring standpoint overall, but especially from three-point range. It was something that Lamont Paris had talked about previously, in that pretty much just about every player on this team besides Hayden DeSimian has the green light to shoot the three-pointer. And I think that's such a nice asset to have when you have not just scoring options, but guys that can light it up from deep. Now, it could also be a detriment this season if things aren't going well from three-point range. That might come back to hurt them a little bit, but when it's working, it leads to results like this on the court. So South Carolina will be back in action on Sunday night to take on Southern Miss here at Colonial Life Arena. Tip-off will be at 6:30 p.m. on SEC Network. So once again, the Gamecocks picking up a 91-72 win over North Carolina A&T to open the 2025-26 season here at CLA. For GamecockCentral.com, I'm Jack Veltri.